32. So it seems the majority says like between 5, less than 5, or between 5 and 10 hours per week. Yeah. Do we still see people adding? So what is research shown? That 35% of the time of non-managers is spent on meetings, and for managers it's often more than 50%. And then the next question is, with that in mind, how often are you frustrated by the end of the meeting? How often are you frustrated by the end of the meeting? Is that once in a while? Less than half the time? Half of the time? More than half of the time? Okay. And of course, that can have different reasons. Because maybe you always start too late, or you always have the same colleague talking too much, or you think you're invited and it has nothing to do with your work. So I see, luckily, most of the people say once in a while, and that's probably also life, but also less than half the time, and also a few people say more than half of the time.
We suppose, or many of us suppose, that we come together in a meeting to solve a common problem, which we all understand in the same way. That then we expect that one contribution follows another in an orderly and efficient manner. People build easily on each other's ideas. And then, by the end, we quickly reach a solution and common agreement. That's our image of what a meeting should look like. However, what really happens in a meeting is we come in with a problem, and then people present differing and diverging perspectives and views. And then it seems like the more we talk, the more questions we have. And then we say the meeting has failed and go looking for the guilty parties, the chair, the participants, or an outsider. And then we become a little bit impatient and we search for a closure as quick as possible. So probably some natural leader will take charge to stop the divergence and restore order. In the middle, we see the lead. And she says, or he says, we are wasting time. This won't work. We need to. And she proposes a quick fix, thinking it will help. Well, other participants just shut up and go further away in their own minds with their own perceptions and go away. And the impatient leader thinks we are all moving along the same road, and people say yes or they remain silent, but they do no afterwards.
And that's dangerous, because you think that people agree, but in their minds or in their heads they say no. And if people don't get the voice to say what they want to say, they will air it in a different way. And we sometimes see it like in jokes that people make, and people make a joke and you hear, some sarcasm, and then there was something said and people don't agree. They did not openly say it, that they didn't have the chance, but in jokes they will air it, or they will make excuses and say like, yeah, but I cannot do it today. Yeah, but we agreed on that. Yeah, but, or we start gossiping and we say like, it's always the same, So you see it's kind of a gliding scale. It starts with jokes, but it becomes worse and worse. So if you don't give space to that, to people's opinions and perspectives, you see it can have a very negative impact on your team, on the group dynamics, And in the end, you know, if it goes, you know, sometimes people say it's like sharks. They start like little fish, you know, and they become bigger and bigger and bigger. And in the end, you can see, you know, people might even, you know, just strike or war or withdraw, you know. So as a chair of a meeting, when you make the decisions, when decisions have to be made, it's very important that you give people space to talk and really be open to what they want to say and share their perspectives. So you can prevent this whole resistance line and all the sharks that come with them.
So not to go to the premature closure, but in fact accept the divergence starting from a question mark. So in fact, people never ever come to a meeting with the same understanding and perspective. We know that from different games, that you put something in front of you. If I put this cup in front of you, I might say, I see an ear. No, you cannot see it exactly, but hey, you will see different sides of the problem. So never ever people will come in the room with the same perspective on the issue. But to come to a decision which is owned without creating sharks by not listening, we need their involvement to solve the problem and gain their commitment. So we need to see the different perspective, and this divergence is exactly what we need to understand better the problem and different solutions we can use. So that the agreement can be created and can happen after you have the opportunity to express these ideas. We just had this week the example of the copy machine was not working anymore. And so we saw a colleague immediately call for a technician to come to solve the problem. Nevertheless, some others were also walking around. They saw the machine not working, and they were first just discovering, hey, maybe it's the paper, or maybe the electricity is not connected, or maybe it's just the toner, which is not really put in the best way. So they tried everything, and then the machine worked again. So different issues were, it was and the electricity and the toner and the paper jam was occurring, and no technician was needed, and all solutions were applied to get the machine running again. Just a simple problem to show that divergence when looking at a problem is needed to come to the best solutions, and these might be more efficient and cost effective than when you go for the premature solution. So, but yeah, we all know that if we have a lot of divergent perceptions, and to come then to a decision, there is that moment that you get contradictory views, you get additional questions because one has a perception the other does not understand, so more questions are arising. So a kind of chaos and also confrontation with our own discomfort as a leader or as a facilitator or as a manager, chairperson, comes also on the table. It's a moment where you feel, well, what happens here? It's kind of a chaos, but that is exactly the moment that your role as a leader facilitator starts to play a role. That's where the reason why you are there is to handle this growing zone, these chaos, by first helping people to talk, and not just the ones which speaks best, also the silent ones, also the young ones, also the elderly ones, also the subordinates, also the hierarchy. Organize the table in such a way that the divergence can take place, then help people to listen to each other so that contradictions can be seen as a different view, and then go to the agreement on the issues we can agree and on the issues we do not agree, and which might need more time to work on, or to come back again in another meeting. But agree on what you disagree and agree on where you agree.
So now we're also moving to your experience with that, because I think when you see the model and when you think about it, you probably think like, ah, yeah, I recognize that. Things coming, breakout rooms, mural, Canva, Jamboard, feasibility assessments, Kahoot, a 10 minutes coffee break. I like that one. It depends on the group size. Yes, that's also true. Small group, raising hands. Yes. Learn to listen, very important. Zoom can be one. Post-its, voting, 6 hats. I like the 6 hats. That's when you put on different hats from different perspectives. That one hat is for asking the negative questions. One is for what about the future? So it's different ways of looking at a problem. The parking lot, bus groups, that's mural, which is like an online wall where you can add post-its. And it's a very nice tool to start, brainstorming. If you want people to think, like what sides do we have? So just write on post-its what you think. And then at a certain time when you're maybe more in the chaotic phase, you can think like, okay, so maybe we can cluster them, maybe we can give them different colors. You can see like down in the left corner, different colors usually are different groups. And like mural even has the opportunity or the possibility that you can vote, that you can then, for instance, can say, okay, so if we want to prioritize, which one of these groups do we want to tackle first or deal first with? And then later on, you can work it out and say like, who's going to do what? So it's a very nice tool that covers, let's say, all the different phases from diverging all the way to converging, and also to a very clear decision like, okay, this is what we're going to do and who's going to do that. So that's one example. We have more, of course. We use more different tools. Mentimeter, we're doing that right now. The mural or the Miro, the Jamboard, that's all these different online walls that you can use. The Padlet is also like that, a whiteboard. And even, often like Zoom, I saw people say Zoom or Teams, they have a whiteboard and you can ask people to scribble on it, or to even to vote, or to give like little hearts if they agree, or question marks if they have no clue what you're talking about. So these are different tools. There's also more different methodologies that you can use to also guide people through this whole process. And deep democracy is one of them, a method that really also looks for the wisdom of the minority, like let's say the wisdom of all the participants to make like a sound decision. Technology of participation is also a technology that you can use. Appreciative inquiry, that's a very positive philosophy that says like, okay, let's look at not just from the problems, but also from the solutions, and what are the things that already are in our organization that we can use, and to move forward to that. Different tactics, well, breakout groups, we did that already. Pairing and sharing in pairs of 3. That's maybe not pairs then, triads. Plenary discussions. And like we said already, silence is also a very important tactic that you can use to make sure that people really understand and can reflect and make a decision that they feel comfortable with. Different methods, very many different methods you can use. Storytelling can be a nice one. Visual facilitation, just not words, but also people in a visual way, maybe make their own drawings or pictures or videos in different ways. Visuals can also help people to, to think like, what is really the question here? What's really important for me? And the last one we wrote down here is the transit walk. And the transit walk is that you walk around in a certain environment and that you really explore, like, okay, what do we see? And that you make associations there. And even in your global team, we were talking about it, we said also in your global team, when we all sit behind the computer like we do now, sometimes it's nice to say, like, just go outside for 10 minutes. Just walk around and you give people a certain question, go in nature and come back, and then we talk further. And that can also be a very healthy way of reflecting and not just sitting behind your computer or in the same room all the time. So that is a few examples, and there's many more to give. Like, how do you move people through this whole model from, you know, the first question mark to the last tick that says, like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I think it's very nice to be creative in that. And I think often we do it the usual way, but it's nice to once in a while think like, okay, what can we do differently? What tools can I use? What method? What tactics? Yolanda, next one.
Yeah.
So our core messages for effective group decision making, just to wrap it up, because we're getting to the end. Divergent and convergent thinking guides decision making. So it's very important to think in that way, that it's not this linear thinking. You have to go through these different phases for a sound decision. Chaos in that is a natural phenomenon. We don't like it, and we often feel frustrated. We think we're not getting anywhere, but it is a phase you have to go through, and it's a healthy phase. It's normal. It has nothing to do with you as the chairman doing things wrong, or people being obnoxious or naughty or whatever you think, or frustrating. It's a natural phenomenon. And your role is to help people to talk, to listen, and to agree. So that's important. And if you keep that in mind and then facilitate in that way, you will get there. Value and give space to intentional silence. Don't underestimate that. Listening and silence, these are the key skills, you know, to really give space to everyone and to make sure that we hear every voice. And last but not least, of course, prepare and define the tools and tactics accordingly. How much time do you have? I saw people saying the group size, all these things matter. So just take a little time to prepare well, think like, okay, what does my team look like? What is the group I have? What do I want to achieve? How much time do I have? And prepare accordingly. So these are the core messages. Yolanda, next one. Yes. And of course, within MDF, we can help you with that as well. So we like to highlight two courses that are coming up, well, one in March and one in June, and that are connected to this topic. And the first one is the Leadership and People Management course that we have in March. And that is from a leader or manager perspective. Who am I? How do I lead my team? And of course, this decision-making element is very important in that. So how do I relate to that? What is my team doing? So this is about understanding your leadership style and qualities and challenges. The other one is more on the how, the training and facilitation skills. Like if you want to know, how can I do that? How do I use these methods? How do I make, you know, how do I do a brainstorm? How do I use this mural maybe? Yeah, so what can I do? How can I do that? And that's more the focus of this, I think, beautiful course on training and facilitation skills. And I know by the end of the year, but that's in November, we'll have an online facilitation skills course. And that is just really focusing on if you work a lot online and you want to know how to use this Zoom and the whiteboards and the breakout groups and whatever, and what's the philosophy behind it, how I do that when I choose certain options, that's really geared towards that. So that's a little bit of marketing.